Welcome to Power TV. I'm your host Samantha Moyer and we are here at the Unleash the Beast Mental Health Symposium in Toowoomba. I'm sitting with the amazing and talented author Melisa Pouliot. Welcome.
Thank you, Sam.
So I wanted to chat to you today because you were one of the speakers here today, and I wanted to know why you personally invested in sharing your message here.
I think this is just a wonderful opportunity to talk about mental health from so many different perspectives, and my main message is about how writing can be such a cathartic process when you are experiencing a life trauma. And in my case, it was the disappearance of my cousin Ursula in 1987, and 5 years ago I published a novel that was inspired by her going missing, and I think until then I'd never talked publicly about Ursula's disappearance. We just dealt with it as a family, and so I think being able to share her story, it's twofold, because I love talking about her because it's sharing her memory and remembering what a wonderful person she was, and then also helping others and maybe inspiring others to pick up well, maybe not pen and paper, but get their computers out and start writing.
So do you get a lot of people contacting you and wanting to talk to you about that specific topic? Because I will lead in about how much these books help with that understanding as well.
When I started researching for Write About Me, I didn't realise how little I knew about missing persons, and it was back when Ursula disappeared in 87, it was a very non-talked about topic. We weren't, because when someone goes missing and they're reported to the police, they go into the police system, and so then it carries a certain stigma and shame around that missing person. And I think the biggest message that hit home when I was researching that is that going missing is not a crime, and that Ursula hadn't done anything wrong by going missing, and her case was one of about 2,000 in Australia of long-term missing cases that aren't solved. And so I was sort of thinking at the time, why aren't these cases solved? Like, what can we do? And new technology's coming out all the time. Like social media back in 2013 was around, but it's become so much more prolific now. And I could just see all these tools. I thought if I share Ursula's story through the pages of the book, and people knowing that my fictional stories are coming from a real place, then it might help others and make a bit of a difference in that space.
And with you, as you said, writing has been cathartic for you as well, and being able to share that with people. I want to talk about the hope side of things for you, and about how, and with obviously, as you've said, with the social media and things changing, but what's something that if anyone, not only just going through that, but family members as well, and as that ripples out with the effect of it, that you want to kind of share from your experience?
Okay, so as a result of my first novel, detectives had a fresh look at Ursula's case, and so the hope that was generated through me sharing her story, that inspired me, because it's actually very difficult to talk about her, and difficult for me to relive that experience of when she went missing, and all the uncertainty and all those years of trying to accept that maybe that she had probably died, but then not really wanting to know. It's called ambiguous loss. You get into this space where you think you really want to know what happened to them, but then if you think if something awful has happened, like they've been murdered, which is what we did believe with Ursula, then so hope was this kind of a different experience it means so many different things. So I think the writing helped me propel myself forward, because while these investigations go on, especially with these very old cases, it can be very slow and tedious. And so writing the novels, putting out, having a bit of a book launch buzz each year, having the media remember that Ursula was still missing, that was a big part of writing the books. I think that that helped me with that hope. I was actually filling up my own bucket of hope, because by everything that and every message someone sent me, or every time someone bought my book and read my book and got in touch with me, it just filled me with so much hope that we would find Ursula. And ultimately, after 5 years and 5 novels later, the detectives did find her. Yep.
And would you recommend for anyone who is going through that process, as you said, it's ambiguous loss, so you're not really getting answers everywhere, to kind of start writing?
Well, I mean, it may not be for everyone to write 5 novels in 5 years, and it was a huge undertaking, over 500,000 words. But so writing doesn't necessarily have to be in that format, but any kind of writing. And I think that for me, writing fiction got things out of my own head through fictional characters. So I didn't actually feel that I could distance myself from what I was feeling and analyse it from a different perspective. And I think that was really helpful in writing fiction. That creative process was amazing. Yep. I'm hooked now because I come from a media background, so I'm always writing facts, figures, dates, times, so very factual writing, but being able to make things up and just go with it is really a creative.
So let's talk about your latest book, Found.
Yes.
I'll get you to
Oh, yes.
that.
Yep.
Let's have a chat about that. I'll just pop that up there so we can see that. So that's the latest, that's the latest novel, Found, from Melisa. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Well, as I said, Ursula has been found, and I was writing a fiction novel. So I was writing this series, and there's characters in there, lots of different characters, and some are still missing and we don't know where they are, and then some, are... And like, that's frustrating for my readers because they get to the end of the novel and they're like, well, where are they and what's happened, and you haven't closed it off. But I get the feedback that's just, well, now we understand what you must feel like. And Ursula was found, and she was killed in a car accident not long after she went missing and buried under a different name. So, we've had that sort of that endpoint of sorts. Her case is still with the coroner, so we don't have all the answers, and we may never get all the answers. But the Australian Federal Police launched Found last year in Canberra, and as part of that, I revealed publicly that in real life that actually Ursula had been found. And I remember I did an interview with ABC Canberra, and I walked into the studio, and at that stage I hadn't told anybody, and I had written a speech for the launch that night, and she started to ask me questions about, what's it like when someone goes missing, and how do you cope with not knowing, and all that sort of stuff. And I just said to her, actually, Ursula's been found. And then the look on her face, because she was not expecting that at all. And for me, it was such a relief to publicly acknowledge that, because we knew behind the scenes, and the family knew, but the police at this stage haven't made a formal statement, and so, but it's very hard to carry that secret around. So it was a huge relief to actually, give that story some sort of end point, and and releasing the book was part of that. And so I think that I've found a love and a passion now. I've always written because I write through my career in my professional life, and I do these in my spare time. And I think that I've really found a creative outlet that I'm going to pursue. It's really, something I'm going to... And every book that I write, every time I get to speak, more people learn about missing persons, and that's a big part of it.
Well, I hope you join us again next year if Unleash the Beast is back in Toowoomba again. So thank you so much for joining me. Just on a last note, if anyone wanted to find you and all your novels, where could they find you?
Well, I have a website. It's just melisapouliot.com, and all my novels are on there. And I'm on a lot of social media. I'm pretty easy to find, actually. So, and welcome anyone, getting in contact and having a chat. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sam.